Benitez.
Okay, for this story, I want to go first to Joseph. Then I'm going to go to Alex. So Joseph, as a forensic analyst, what do you make out of this break situation? What's your take?
Well, obviously, as the spokesman for the prison had mentioned, people would have obviously heard, and people being the occupants within the prison, of them falling through these areas. I can't imagine covering all this distance that they were using just simply a tool that you could plug in. It sounds like something that had a battery pack with it potentially, because they're having to get into tight little spaces. You don't have an outlet hanging around in there. And just the physical act of getting out and making their way out into the general public. Now, from kind of a profiling perspective, I think that what really kind of troubles me, and I am in no way a profiling expert, but I'm a death investigator by trade. What kind of really piques my interest in this case is the fact that these guys have been convicted of some pretty brutal crimes. And that means that there is a level of desensitization with them, that if they do encounter another group of people that might try to impede their ability to make their way out of the area, they might not be as hesitant to take someone else's life or do great harm to them. So that's kind of what I'm taking away from it. I think that they've expanded the search over into Vermont at this point in time, or at least they're on a heightened alert even along the shores of Lake Champlain. They've even got the Coast Guard involved in this. And I heard that earlier today that there was a sighting on an island, but I don't know how true that is, or if they've been able to confirm that to two people there. All of this is it's going to come to a head. My suspicion is up in that part of the country, are they trying to make it into Canada? And I don't know how much good that would do them, but very scary set of circumstances.
No question, indeed. And, of course, as we're recording this, they haven't been caught, Alex. And you, of course, have dealt with, the ins and outs of prisons, being a defense attorney. What's your take on the whole situation of how they're going to catch them, A, and how they got out, B?
Well, this is quite a spectacular escape by these individuals. And I have absolutely no doubt that they had inside help, and they probably had inside help from more than one person. I mean, they must have been given some information about potential escape routes. And, it's not like you can just use one saw to cut through metal and stone, and you probably need several different types of equipment, replacement bits and parts and extension cords. And that means there's somebody in that prison, somebody that's worked there for a while. And I don't necessarily think it was just this woman that may have been involved. I've been inside many prisons. And when you go through prisons, I mean, certainly as a defense attorney or as a civilian, you go through a number of security checkpoints. But even the guards have to go through security. And you just can't walk into a prison with, huge, hacksaws or electric saws without somebody noticing this. That means there was somebody on the inside that has had a sophisticated understanding of how the prison system works and was able to slip these items into the prison and to the inmates so they could use it for the purposes of their escape. And I think when the dust settles, they're going to track down these people. And I think I think I will be proven right on this point.
Alex, let me stay with...
I've got to say, I'd agree with Alex in this. If you've ever been, or maybe the general public hasn't been within a prison, I've worked deaths in prisons over the course of my career, and I think Alex will probably concur with this. The structure of these places is not just simply one of pure just steel. It's very robust. And the idea that Alex is putting forth that they would have inside help, this is not something that two guys could just knock out overnight. To me, what they're describing sounds as though this has been a painstaking process. And again, referring to what Alex had said, they would have had some kind of idea as to form and function around the area in which they were indwelling, to make their way out, and then make their way through just this labyrinth of corridors and reinforced steel and all this sort of thing. This is not something that would be done just in an immediate or on the spur of a moment.
Yeah, and Alex, for the sake of people listening that are listening to this after they got caught, let me tell you, it's been what, 5, 6, 7 days already. That's a long time for this day and age of 2015, Alex Sanchez. That with all the technology that they got away so long. Of course, I'm just saying this for the purposes of people that haven't are listening, if they have been caught.
I mean, it's just more evidence, as far as I'm concerned, that they had, outside help. Because if these guys, first of all, as Mr. Morgan indicated, it's not like these guys broke through a wall and then decided, let's break through this wall or let's break through that wall. They seem to have a complete diagram of the inner workings of that prison, and they knew exactly where to go. They ended up climbing out through a manhole cover, which is incredible. And when they got outside of that manhole cover, there was probably somebody that was waiting for them. Maybe they went into somebody's yard temporarily to hide, but more likely than not, a car came at some point and picked them up. I bet you they're hundreds and hundreds of miles away from that scene right now. And because otherwise, the police would have found them already. I mean, you've got dogs. You've got hundreds of police officers scouring the countryside. You've got people on the lookout from the neighborhood. Now they're all armed. Unless these guys are digging holes in the floor and, burying themselves under soil, they would have been captured. So This means they had outside help.
They definitely, with that noise, it sounds like they definitely had to have outside help. And but just the fact that that the police hasn't caught them as we record this now, they might catch them if you're listening to this in a couple days. But just the fact that they haven't caught them yet is pretty, I don't want to say impressive and give you credit, but it is pretty impressive. Would you agree, Alex?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's these guys are sophisticated guys. These are no dummies. You have to be quite intelligent to have organized this type of escape to begin with. And more likely than not, they didn't just organize the escape from the prison. They organized their escape from the area where they were. And more likely than not, they had to change clothes. They probably saved up a lot of money. They may have had, arrangements for taxi cabs to come and pick them up to a different location, had fake IDs, prepared for themselves. They're being squirreled out of the country, another fake ID, fake passports. There's a whole sophisticated enterprise connected with this escape. And the very fact that they haven't been caught is proof of this.
And
I'm fascinated by the fact that if they do, in fact, have people on the outside that are assisting them with this, why in the world would somebody want to risk this over two cons that are very violent criminals? What's the hook here? What's the draw? What's the payout in the end? And I really don't understand why anyone in their right mind would take this kind of risk. And I'm talking about civilians. And we could say that it would be, maybe friends or family, but I don't know about you guys, but, I don't know how many people in immediate families have this kind of sophistication in order to facilitate this.
I'll tell you, when it comes to money, Mr. Morgan, people will do anything. And I don't know if these guys had access to a lot of money or their friends had access to a lot of money, but money talks, and especially in the criminal world, it talks. And if you got enough money to spread around, somebody will do your bidding. And I have no doubt that these guys spread around a lot of money.
And bottom line, Alex Sanchez, do you think? How much longer do you think there'll be escaped convicts? as their title.
You know, again, if they're hundreds of miles away, it could be a while. If they're in the area, and I really doubt that they're in the area because I think they would have been caught by now. If they escaped and they're hundreds of miles away in other states and they're using different identifications and they're disguising themselves, they're cutting their hair, they're using wigs, they're using mustaches, they're changing their clothes, they're putting makeup on to disguise any scars or using fake teeth. I mean, these people could be doing anything. That's how sophisticated they are. We may not find these people for a long time, but I think sooner or later they will be found, because it's not like these people can just slink away in society and, you know, a guy will become a plumber or the guy will, you know, somehow get a job as a real estate agent. These are sick criminals, and eventually they will expose themselves for who they are at some point, and then they'll be caught.
And as you said, Joseph, they really got nothing to lose, especially given what one of them is charged for something really heinous. Don't know what it is exactly in front of me, maybe you, but when you have like that and you're basically in there for life, it makes it a little more easier to escape, one would think.
Yeah, it does. It does. I think one of the things that we have to address now, and I'm speaking solely from a forensic perspective, these guys are going to have, I would imagine, DNA sample on file now at this point. I think there was, at least with one of these cases, there may have been, or they may have had some kind of sexual offense history in the background. In addition to that, just the biometric ability that a lot of agencies possess now. Even if you're attempting to mask yourself some way, they are capable of taking the static images that they have of these individuals now, which, you know, they have photographs that are taken of them regularly. They also have videotape of them that goes on in the prison. And biometrically, you can match those faces up, particularly if they're passing through ports of entry, this sort of thing. So, you know, I would be really surprised. You talk about sophistication. I would be really surprised if these guys could kind of slip beneath the net that's going to be extended for them. But, you know, stranger things have happened. If they are being aided by people that are very, very worldly when it comes to electronic measures and all those sorts of things, I guess a possibility would exist. But it's not the same high probability that it had been in the past that they could escape.
Question. All right.